Like, subscribe, comment, share, copy the link, put it on Instagram in your bio, put it on your Facebook page. Send it to your mama, text it to somebody. But y'all make sure y'all follow this page. Retro Philosophy. Stop playing.
Yo, what's up, everybody, including Lottie Dottie? You already know what it is, man. It's your boy Retro with you on today. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. I hope you guys are having a fabulous day so far. I realize it's just started for some, and for others, they've been grinding ever since, the sun kissed the horizon. You know what I mean? Um, but whatever your schedule is looking like today, I hope you have yourself a great day. I want to talk to you for a few minutes, hopefully to offer some form of encouragement, enlightenment, inspiration, motivation, whatever it is that you can get from this, of course, in a good sense, then we pray you will take that away and continue to be great. Because the reality is, ladies and gentlemen, saints and ain'ts, everybody, including Lottie Dottie, your circumstances don't define you, but you get to define your circumstances. So, what is your character? Is what you must ask yourself as you're going through the difficult moments of life, the trying times, the challenging, things. What is your character? And depending on what your answer to that is, should determine how you maneuver through whatever it is that you are going through in this thing called life. All right. Hey, check this out, man. Why don't you show? If you don't want to show me no love, how about showing Lottie Dottie some love? Yeah, show some love. You can hit the Cash App. And if you say, yo, I ain't giving you no money, well, that's cool too. Hit the like button, hit the share button. You can support in other ways beyond just the almighty green dollar, okay? Because the reality is, money is the lowest form of currency, whether you believe it or not. Uh, yeah, it's the lowest form of currency. However, it is very effective when. So my question to you today, ladies and gentlemen, saints and ain'ts, everybody, including Lottie Dottie, and again, I hope you can hear me. What did you wake up for? No, seriously, what did you wake up for? Why did you wake up for? Um, I don't know how you prepare for the day as it relates to the previous night. Um, oftentimes I'm laying in bed, winding down for the night, and I'm thinking about my next day's, you know, tasks, and all those things. And I'm a visual kind of guy, so a lot of times I will kind of visualize what my day is going to be like the following day. And so when I wake up in the morning, I say, okay, let me put this plan into action and make it do what it do. So when I wake up, I kind of have an idea of what I got to do for the day. Um, and sometimes the things that I've got to do, they excite me. And so I'm eager to get up the following morning. I'm excited. I'm happy. All those things. But what did you get up for today? Did you put any thought? Uh, Julio, what's going on? Play. So what did you wake up for, Julio? Why did you wake up today? Do you have a goal? Do you have a plan? Do you have a mission? Do you have a purpose? And if the answer is yes, I do, then how are you going to execute said plan, mission, goal, et cetera, et cetera? How are you going to execute? Now, when you wake up and you have a purpose and you have a plan and you have a drive, you have a determination, one of the most important things to consider is not allowing external forces, entities, people, whatever the case may be, to disrupt you, distract you, deter you, detour you. I can't get no help up in here, but I'm preaching better than you praising right about now. And we can use YouTube, for instance. I'm streaming to YouTube Live. I'm streaming to Twitch as well as Facebook. You don't normally have this problem with Facebook, and I haven't ran into it with Twitch yet, but YouTube is notorious for what do you call those folks? Um, Trolls. Yeah, trolling your page, making vulgar statements, racist statements, stupid statements, crazy statements. And the reality is that stupid people are going to do stupid things. Sinful people are going to do sinful things. Courageous people are going to do courageous things. You get the point that I'm making? So it's not so much what you do, but how you react and respond to what you go through will define you. Because that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we measure character. It is not this problem. It's not even the issue, but it's your response to the issue. Now, I'm doing this thing for the past several shows when I go live from the studio. Retros, teachable moments. Yeah. Retros, oh my Lord, teachable moments. I'm up here running my mouth and didn't even realize that I was creeping up on Stady over here. And Lord Jesus, I'm running about 90 allegedly, and talking to you guys and just really not paying attention. And so apparently he's got some place to go and he's not really going to pay me much mind. So I guess he's going to give me that one. Whew, that was a close call. That was a close call. Last thing I need right now is a ticket. Yeah, last thing I need right now is a ticket because that would distract me and deter me and detour me from what I need to do today. I'm just saying. So anyway, let me get back on track. So I'm doing this segment called Retro's Teachable Moments. Okay, and it's birthed from a place of authenticity. It's birthed from a place of experience. It's birthed from a place of passion. It's birthed from a place of understanding. It's birthed from a place of need. We need to understand the importance of maximizing teachable moments. Now, we miss it a lot of times because we're walking in pride. We miss it a lot of times because, we're so stuck on ourselves. I'm somebody, and who are you to speak to me in this matter? Who are you to treat me this way, and so on and so forth? Listen to me, man. Stop drinking your own Kool-Aid. Stop getting high on your own supply. If somebody disrespects you, don't be so quick to take it personal. You know what they say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So if this is the first offense, shame on you. I'm not going to take it personal. That's on you. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as a teachable moment to offer some guidance. That's what OGs do. They offer guidance. They offer guidance. Okay, that Stady was pulling over. I thought he was just going to pull over to come behind me. So I got a little worried again, but he's all right. Anyway, teachable moments, ladies and gentlemen. Teachable moments, okay? So as you go about your day, hopefully you have a plan of some sort. My wife called me this morning, and she was inquiring of my agenda. What were my plans for the day? And so I shared my plans with her. We talked for a short minute, brief moment, and then that was that. And so sometimes you've got to discuss your plans with others. Sometimes you've got to share your plans with others. Why? So they can understand your focus, so that they can understand why you're doing what you're doing, when you're doing what you're doing. Because when people don't understand, sometimes it can create a whole other issue, okay? Which is why I'm going to say this. If your leadership cannot be questioned, then your leadership is questionable, okay? Now, if you're watching this, then you are a leader of some sort, all right? And if you are a leader, you should have a plan. You should have a game plan, okay? I was in a conversation, side note, with someone the other day, and I was talking about Martin Luther King had a dream. But in today's society, in today's time, today in 2025, if we're still dreaming the dream he dreamed, then we're behind the eight ball. We're doing it all wrong. He had a dream. We should have a plan. Nick, what's going on, big brother? You already know what it is, man. We out here on this wing, trying to do a little something, something, on a wing and a prayer. And so, as leaders, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to have a plan. You cannot be a leader and be dreaming. Now, Martin Luther King dreamed for his era, and he did what he was supposed to do. I do believe he was an awesome leader in his own right, and he did his portion. He got us to the dream, and now we have to put action and plan or strategic strategy to the dream to ensure that it be fulfilled, that it come to pass. We cannot get up every day arguing, fussing, and fighting about the dream if we don't have a plan in action or a plan in place to fulfill the dream. All right? Brian, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. And so we must continue to press forward, not just with a dream, but with a plan. So, as a leader, you've got some people following you. I don't care how big or small the number is. They cannot effectively follow you if they don't understand where you're going. Let me say it another way. They cannot effectively follow you if they don't know where you're going, nor can they effectively follow you if they don't understand where you're going. Some people know where you're going, but they don't understand. And the problem is we have too many weak, jelly-backed leaders in place that are borderline schizophrenic, like Saul was in the Bible, King Saul. And the moment someone asks a question about your leadership, you get your little draws in a bunch, and you get all offended, and you want to open rebuke folk, and you want to chop folk down. Listen to me, man. As a leader, you mean to tell me you're you need to resign because your leadership, and rightfully so. Because if I'm following you anywhere, if I'm following you across the street to the 7-Eleven, I need some answers. I want to know. And so if your leadership cannot be questioned, then your leadership is questionable. Now, there's a difference between asking questions and challenging leadership. When I talk about if your leadership cannot be questioned, I'm not talking about those who have a bad spirit and always want to challenge somebody and always want to, stir the pot. You want to bring up issues, but you never want to present solutions. You want to always talk about problems, but you never want to offer, guidance or. You understand what I'm saying? I cannot stand being in a meeting where things need to get done, but you got some folk who just want to argue about what happened in the past, want to argue about, and I'm not saying that we should forget the past. I'm not saying that. Oh, don't take this the wrong way. But if you're going to come and you have a problem with something, voice your opinion, and then now what are we going to do to move on to ensure that it doesn't happen again? What are we going to do to ensure that it goes smoothly from here on out? If you show up to the meeting and all you want to do is fuss and fight, then you are not ready to win, and you will not win until you learn how to see beyond the problem and identify solutions. Now, I will rock with you. I will accept a solution, a recommendation, a plan, whatever you want to call it. I'll accept it. It doesn't even have to be foolproof. It doesn't even have to be tried and true, but at least you're thinking through this thing and you're trying to offer something. Okay? And so now we can look at this plan that you suggest or you recommend, and we can go over it together as a team or just you and I, or whatever the case may be. Let's see where the strengths of this strategy are and where the weaknesses of this strategy is. I'm saying. Okay, now maybe we can present it to the team or whatever the case may be. But if you're going to show up just to fight me, bruh, you still part of the problem. You're still part of the problem. So what did you wake up for today? Let's get back to the question. Did you wake up to fight about what you're mad about? Or did you wake up to find solutions what you're mad about? That is my question to you on today. Let me leave you with this. Please be aware that whatever you point the finger at is what you give the power to. That's a retro quote for you. Whatever you point your finger at is what you give the power to. Let me talk about that for a quick minute before I get out of your way. Normally, people say when you point the finger, you got three fingers pointing back at you. And that is true. However, there's a deeper truth to be extracted from such a saying. Brian, God bless you, Sir Brian Baldwin. I'm going to use you because you were the last comment, so I'll just use you as an example if you don't mind. If I point the finger at Brian, and I have no clue who Brian is, I don't believe, but if I point the finger at Brian, and when I say point the finger, we're placing blame on Brian, okay? And I can't ride my motorcycle because Brian is in the comment section saying such and such and so on and forth and blah, 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 blah. What I've done was I've given the power to Brian. You know, I can't get a job because the white man this and the white man that. You just given, quote unquote, the white man the power to keep you where you are. Because you think in order to get a job, it's got to come through him. The devil is a liar. You can, I know they say you can't pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, but you can unlace those bootstraps and use that lace as a rope to climb up out of the hole that you're in. I'm just saying. Instead of me always fussing and fighting about pointing the finger and pointing the blame on somebody else, how about take responsibility for my own actions? Take responsibility for my own situation, for my own circumstances. Now, let's be real about this. There are some people that can add to your frustration, that could add to your problem, that could add to your downfall, but ultimately, you've got the power. If Brian is my problem and he keeps trying to hold me back or hold me down, then I need to get away from Brian. I need to stop letting Brian know what I'm getting ready to do. I need to stop relying on Brian for resources or whatever. I'm just going to stop doing it. Because if he is my problem, he's never going to want to see me succeed. So I must separate from Brian. I must, I've got to get away from his hold, from his grip, from his influence. And sometimes you got to work silently until you're strong enough to let it be known what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing. Does that make any sense to anybody? Now, I get it, and this is my humble opinion, and you have every right to disagree with me. I don't think racism is our problem as much as it is systematic racism. Now, somebody might soundbite that and run and go say this and say that, and he's just an Uncle Tom or whatever. You better kiss me where the sun don't shine if you think that's the case, because never that. But I don't have time to be pointing the finger at some racist individual when the only power the racist individual has is what the system allows him. And so instead of fighting against my brother, how about we come against a system? And one of the best ways to come against a system that is corrupt, come on somebody, is to raise up people who can not only identify the problem, but also challenge the problem, and then replace those who are in place, who are perpetuating the problem. Does that make any sense at all to anybody on today? I didn't get up here to talk about race or racism because I try to focus on solutions more than I focus on problems. Now, focusing on solutions instead of problems does not mean that you are not aware of problems that exist, okay? But you can only serve one master. And if racism is going to be the thing that I must be careful that it does not become my master. This is goal. It is to identify racism. But my goal, my plan, come on somebody, is to initiate racial reconciliation. See, I'm on a whole nother level. The one that wants to always identify racism with one like me and Uncle Tom, because see you quote unquote smiling in the face of, nah, this is a teachable moment. I didn't freeze. That's a Selah moment. And so you can never teach a student that you are fussing at. You can't fuss at them and teach them at the same time unless you try to teach them how to fuss. And our enemy know how to fuss real good. As a matter of fact, they're on a whole nother level. They see, that's the problem. We sit around fussing, but they sit around doing other things. Anyway, as they say, anywho, how in the world did we get there? Um, so, what did you wake up for today? What did you wake up for today? If you are a grown man and you woke up and you checked your calendar, for then you can get now, sweet love. I'm just saying, don't be so busy fighting that you miss your opportunity to win. You know, I'm of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and Malcolm X used to mock Martin Luther King because Malcolm X saw life and his pursuit from a different perspective. Okay, and he, in my opinion, almost despised Martin Luther King because he was too passive for Malcolm X liking. Until Malcolm X was enlightened a little further. And then he realized that from Martin Luther King's point of view and experience and life, there was much value, there was much wisdom, and even strategy. And then you'll notice that Martin Luther King and Malcolm X begin to have conversation. Yeah, okay. Uh, they had been known to communicate, but they got to a place where they began to have conversation. I've got a picture that I hold very dear. It is a picture of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X together, both with smiles on their faces. They had posed for a picture. I have it hanging on my wall in the barbershop. Very powerful picture. It speaks volumes to me. Okay, some of you folks is out here so quick to make enemies when you ought to look for opportunities to gain a friend. Where see, because you ain't a real OG until you can get somebody to see it from your side and from your perspective. I don't expect you to tell my story, but my story should be compelling enough, and I should tell it in such a way that it will engage you to come on my side to see it from my point of view. Now, seeing it from my side and from my point of view doesn't negate your point of view and your side of the story. I was in a meeting last night, and I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he defined history in a way I've never heard before. And I told him I'm going to give him credit for the first three times, but the fourth time I tell it, you know. But anyway, he said history is what we care to remember. History is what we think important enough to remember. And so when you look at what my people, and when I say my people, my black folk, come on now, you know, we too grown and it's too late in the day to be offended by somebody saying black folk and somebody saying white folk. We know what our history was, doggone it. And so my black folk who were slaves and you know servants and things of that nature, you know, they tell history from a different experience, from a different perspective. And many a times the white man uh, doesn't necessarily care to hear their side because that's not what they really see as important. They may acknowledge the fact that it's important to us, but they don't want to remember, you know, their grandpa and great great grandpa. as a whip cracking slave master that was, extremely brutal to the slaves, and so they don't want to remember Paul in that light. They want to remember Paul had, some servants, and he was really good to them servants. He let them, have Sunday off so they can go to church and so on and so forth, and so they tell it from their perspective, what they care to remember. You know, and if you be honest, can you fault them for that? It's their story. That's why it's called his story. And so we all have to tell our own story. And but when we tell our story in such a way that it will compel people to sit down and come see it from your perspective, that's the real flex. That's where you're talking about a serious level of power. Um, and so that's all I got on that for today, okay? But think about it. His story is what he deems important enough to remember. And as I thought about that last night, I even was reminded of the synoptic gospels. We have Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and they're all writing the same account, but one will leave some details out, whereas the other will add other details. And the reason for this is because Luke thought it was important to journal this aspect. Mark thought it was important to journal this aspect. But the other thing to add to that is their occupation, their upbringing, their experience. Myself, for instance, I am a former cosmetologist. I'm very mechanical. And things of that nature. I'm very fashionable, in my humble opinion. So if there was an incident that occurred and the police come and they ask for a description of the perp, right? I would say, well, he was about 6 feet tall, about maybe 195 pounds. He had a high top fade. He had a gold tee. He had on some fresh J's. And I would describe him based on, and whereas a woman or someone of a different experience or whatever would describe the perp for different reasons. Well, he was running real slow. He was kind of had a limp, like he might have had a knee problem, and they would describe him like that, right? Maybe they were from the medical field, and so they would describe him based on those things. Whereas I lying and the other one telling the truth. No, we were both telling the truth, but we were telling it based on the things we thought important to remember. And we were telling it not only from the things we thought important to remember, but things that resonate with us because of our upbringing, background, profession, etc. And so when you think about his story, everybody tells it the way they think it should be told. And we got to stop getting mad for people telling it the way they think that it should be told. There's three sides to every story, and I'll close on this: yours, mine, and the truth. Yeah, yours, mine, and the truth. If you like this content, you got anything out of this video, make sure you hit the like button. Also, hit the share button. I smell some bacon frying up in there, and it smells real good. You know your boy got to eat. I got fat kid problems. So I'm going to run into this restaurant, get some breakfast, head over to my assignment. Then I got to get back down the road because I got some work I got to finish up for a customer. I got some errands I got to run for my son. I got some things I got to do for my wife. When I tell you that my day is jam packed, I got so much going on. And by the grace of God, we're going to get it done. I'm just at a point where I do what I can, and the rest gets done when it can. And I try not to let it worry me, because at the end of the day, man, we only got 24 hours. Yo, ladies and gentlemen, saints and ain'ts, everybody, including Lottie Dottie, it's your boy Retro. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that like button, hit the share button, and let me know what you think about this video in the comment section. Talk to y'all soon.